why am I not picking these up? They'd be so easy to read and finish. Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video, we are going to be talking about the series that I want to prioritize. Alright, before you get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments what is one series you are so excited to start. So this is going to be the final video of my series of series update for 2023. It is the one that, if I'm being honest, does probably make me the most nervous because I am so concerned how it's going to go whenever I allow myself to start new series. I've been doing so well staying on top of them and not starting new ones. I don't know how that's going to continue if I give myself free rein. So this is going to act as a bit of a guideline, but at the same time, I'm already laughing at myself about that. This list will mostly be comprised of books that are starting series from my owned TBR. Looking at this list already, there are so many fantasies. But at the top, I do have a romance, Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. I believe there are going to be 3 books in this series, and mostly I want to pick this one up because I've heard literally only glowing reviews for Alexis Hall's stories, and I want in on that. I'm intrigued. I believe this one is focusing on a man whose father was like this big name rock star, and unfortunately for him, he keeps being showcased in the media as a flake, a playboy, a partier. However, he's trying to start up a nonprofit, and so his image just really is not helping him out. So he ends up hiring a man to be a fake boyfriend, a guy who is really clean cut, perfectly polished, and he hopes that will improve his image. But of course, you know, fake dating leads to real feelings. Again, I've only heard glowing reviews about this one. I think it's supposed to have kind of similar energy to Red, White, and Royal Blue, and that does have me intrigued. Though fake dating isn't my favorite, it's actually been doing kind of well for me lately. So I'm hopeful that trend will continue here. I think there's supposed to be 3 books in this series, and the first 2 are currently out. So I'm already sort of kicking myself for starting a series which is not finished. Here I am. Put that there and hope it doesn't fall. The one other book that does not fall into a fantasy is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, and that is because this is a cozy mystery, which I am very hopeful I will enjoy. I keep trying to be a cozy mystery person, and unfortunately they just seem very mid. I think this one might be up my alley. It's British, and I've heard it's got a really dry sense of humor. The people who love this series adore it, but I have also heard some mixed reviews. I think this mystery solving group is like a bunch of retirees. There's a nurse, a detective, something else, and they end up getting brought in or trying to solve a relatively recent murder rather than the cold cases they usually focus on. I've really been putting mysteries and thrillers on the back burner lately, so I'm hoping that if I find a cozy mystery series that I love, that'll reignite my enjoyment of the genre. Maybe that'll happen here, but now let's start into the fantasies. So first is one I probably should have read this year because it was on my 10 books for 2023, and that didn't happen. Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen. This is a Little Mermaid retelling, and I believe we are following a girl who is tasked with collecting the souls of men who die in shipwrecks. However, she actually ends up coming across a boy who is alive. Though she's not supposed to help him, she does, and that ends up having way bigger repercussions than either of them are anticipating. I have heard a lot of positive things about the series, but I did see Lou from Lou Reading Things post a bit of a rant review because the religion that was a major element of the story and a big influence is actually her own, and so she talked about some of the issues she had with it and how it doesn't do the real religion justice. It's a very interesting video. I'll put a link to it in the cards up above if you're intrigued. So that unfortunately did kind of make me a bit more nervous about picking this up. I think it's only a duology though. It's not very long. I am still intrigued on it. So maybe having this on 2 lists will actually mean that I read it. This next one I think was actually on my series priority list from 2021. Where Dreams to Sin by Janella Angelis. This was sold to me as Phantom of the Opera meets Moulin Rouge and then add magic. I love it. I'm intrigued. I want to know. But for some reason, I've yet to pick this up. I have heard mostly positive things about this series. I believe it's also only a duology. Oh, that worked out very well. Possibly this will happen. this year. This book itself is also just stunning. It kind of makes me think of 𝗖cieះ𝘁𝘁, like the aesthetic that's going on in it. I don't really think there's much overlap in the worlds. Another duology. Wow, I don't think I realized how many duology starts I had on my TBR. Why am I not picking these up? They'd be so easy to read and finish. The Wrath in the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. This is a 1001 Nights retelling where we are following a woman whose sister was promised to the king, but of course the king ended up killing her. She disappeared. We're not really sure what happens there. So she volunteers herself to be the next bride and begins telling him the story and ensuring her survival, but she is determined, I believe, to kill the king in order to get vengeance for her sister. Sam Donovan adored this book. She loved it. She had so much praise for it. And since I've heard her thoughts, it has re-interested me in this one. So I'm hopeful that I will actually pick it up here soon. This is an older YA, which could either be a good thing or a bad thing. Older in that, like, it came out a good few years ago. Not that the characters are on the older side, though I think they are as well. I'm not really sure. Don't quote me on things. This one was actually a very strong contender for my high fantasy raid my shelves that I did recently. I'll put a link to that in the cards. The only reason I didn't pick it was because City of Brass was on my 10 books for 2023 and this wasn't. And I felt like I should have prioritized it first. If you haven't seen that video, spoiler alert, that was probably a mistake. Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett, which I believe is supposed to have this very interesting magic system and I know is like a fantastical heist. Heist being the thing that got my attention. I am very intrigued to start this one. It is the beginning of a trilogy. I know I've heard glowing reviews about this first book. I don't know if I've really heard anything about the rest of the series though. I do believe this is one that is supposed to be kind of easy adult fantasy to sort of get into the higher stuff, the heavier stuff. So that'll probably work well for me. Then one that I am actually super excited to get to, A Marvelous Light by Freya Marske. That's because whenever cozy fantasy books were getting talked about earlier this year, this was one that was popping up on those lists that I didn't realize previously was cozy fantasy. It is a queer fantastical story in which I believe one character is a magical being, sorcerer, wizard, magician, what do they call them? The other person is a human who ends up becoming a part of this magical society because of his administrative job, and I just find that so hilarious. I thought that this series was actually more companion books following different couples but set in the same world. However, I do think it is more of a continuous story than I originally believed. I should probably look into that. Another one that I've heard a fair amount of positive things on, so I really want to get around to this one. Another that actively hurts since I haven't picked it up, and I think was actually also on my prior series priorities, Extraordinaries by TJ Klune. This is his YA book series, which is following a dude who is a huge fan of the superheroes that actually exists in his world, and I believe eventually ends up befriending one of them who he's previously written fan fiction about, which I find hilarious and also adorable. Superheroes, definitely up my alley. TJ Klune's work, also up my alley. I adore his found families, his romances. Obviously this is YA, so it's gonna be probably a little bit lighter than some of his other stuff I've read. Another one that I've mostly only heard positive things about and I really want to start, Future Nat. If you could get on that, that'd be great. And then finally, one that I'm sure I'm not alone in wanting to prioritize now is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I, like many others, my light died. Like everybody else on booktube, I fell in love with Divine Rivals. I cannot wait for the sequel. So of course I want to check out some of Rebecca Ross's backlist. My friend Allie did read this series and she also adored it. Said Ross's work is just as good here, that her writing is just as beautiful. I believe the magic system in this one is based around music. The hero character is a bard, I believe. I don't actually know a lot about it. It is another duology. These books are also sort of chunky, but I want to read them. I want to love them as much as I loved Divine Rivals. I want more of Rebecca Ross's work is the bottom line here. All right, so that's my current list. Here's hoping it goes better than 2021's did, and maybe I'll have at least started into these series by 2025. Fingers crossed. If I haven't, I'm really just gonna have to reevaluate because they're literally on my shelves. These are the books I should be prioritizing. That's it for now. Thank you all so much for coming to my channel today, guys, and for checking out this series of series update. If you missed the 2 previous videos, then I will put a link to the playlist in the cards up above. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I have all my socials as well as a few ways you can support me linked in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!